Welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. We are back today with another Urban Legends video. I have been taking the most requested country in each comment section and making that my next video in this series, and today is the land down under. Australia is unique in many ways, from its landscape to its wildlife, but some things never really change no matter where you go in the world. Things that go bump in the night, scary spirits and the supernatural. These are stories which follow you to the ends of the earth. My name is Danny Burke and this is the top 10 scary Australian urban legends. Starting off at number 10 now, we have the Black Ghost of the Blue Mountains. If you ever head through Victoria Pass on Australia's Great Western Highway, keep an eye out at night. For more than a century now, truckers have reported seeing the ghost of a child bride called Carolyn Collette. She was beaten to death by her ex-boyfriend John Walsh in 1842 out there in the pass. Now they say her tortured soul haunts those who pass by on a dark, cold night. It's claimed that the colder the night, the better. When black ice covers the road, threatening to spin vehicles down to their doom, everyone is forced to slow down. Once everyone is slow, Caroline is said to approach, ready to seek vengeance for her gruesome death. Next up at number 9 now, we have the Burning Airman. During World War II, an Australian bomber plane crashed on the outskirts of Canberra, killing all 4 on board. It would become known as the Canberra air disaster. Years later, people in the area started reporting strange encounters in the woods. They said unearthly lights could be seen near the old crash site. Others heard the droning noise of a plane followed by a loud bang. Then things got weirder. A teenage girl once ran screaming from the forest, saying that she was being followed by a long dead airman. She said he was covered in fire and that he followed her to the edge of the forest. More people began to report the same thing, horrific encounters that left people traumatized. The stories have been enough to turn some people away from the forest forever for fear of seeing this burning airman stalking them through the trees. Moving on to number 8 now, we have Kelly. This is a very creepy one that was shared on Reddit. User Puppy2010 said that they have relatives in the northern beaches area of Australia on the country's east coast. There, locals tell tales of a girl called Kelly who would appear in people's cars near Oxford Falls if they were travelling alone past midnight. She is said to be the spirit of a girl who died in a car crash there in the 1970s and has haunted the road ever since. For me though, the scariest part of the story is that if you don't tell Kelly to get out of the car, she will take control of the car. For those who believe in the tale of Kelly, they worry for the travellers who have never heard this story before and don't know to tell her to get out of the car. Next up at number 7 now, we have the Orchard Hills Mafia house. This is a huge white mansion found out in Greater Sydney. You might say it was quite beautiful if not for the scary stories attached to it. For some ghost hunters, no place in Sydney has more spirits than the Orchard Hills Mafia house. Lights are said to just flash off and on even when the building is empty. From the outside, people have seen creepy shadows flickering behind the curtains. Some people even claim that these shadows come outside and approach visitors, chasing them down the driveway with demonic grins on their faces. Why are there so many spirits said to live there? Well, that goes back to the building's name. It's called the Mafia House because it was said to be owned by members of a local mafia group. They were rumoured to routinely execute informants and snitches in one of the upstairs rooms. Between the murderous gangs and the spirits of their victims, many people choose to stay well clear of the big white mansion. Coming in at number 6 now, we have the Hawkesbury River Monster. In a lot of these urban legends videos, we've discussed creatures that bear a strange resemblance to the Loch Ness Monster. Well, perhaps this is Australia's version. The Hawkesbury River Monster is said to be a snake-like creature with a long neck, a large body and 2 sets of flippers with an eel-like tail. Locals tell fearsome tales of the beast and claim that they have proof to back it up. People point to the huge slide marks that keep appearing on the riverbanks or the crushed and abandoned boats with no owners in sight. Some say this is not a modern phenomenon either, and that the monster is depicted in the ancient Aboriginal art of that area. Moving on to number 5 now, we have the Hands of Goodna Cemetery. Located on the outskirts of Brisbane, Goodna Cemetery doesn't look to be out of the ordinary at first. Those who visit it though do so because they have heard the stories of what goes on there after dark. According to local legend, there is some sort of force in a cemetery. People describe it differently, but one thing they all agree on is that this force does not like visitors. At night, people feel invisible hands punching and scratching them. It's not just a light tap either. People say you'd know if the hands touch you. One particularly scary story involves a local man who once tried to flee the cemetery in his car, but the car just wouldn't start. He spent the night huddled in his car trying to ignore the strange noises outside. The next morning he stepped out and found long scratch marks all the way down the side of his car. Something had been trying to get in and get him. Moving on to number 4 now, we have Schneiders Alley. In the early 20th century, Dr. Schneider lived in Clifton Manor with his wife and child. Their lives were quite uneventful until one day when tragedy struck. Both the doctor's wife and child died in an accident. The doctor spiraled into madness. At first it was just his personal life that was affected, but then it began to bleed into his work. He would take his patients to a little log cabin near his house where he performed surgical experiments on them without anesthetic. The house saw him mutilate countless people. The locals say that in the years since then they've seen his disfigured patients wandering the hills around the house and lurking in the alley. At night, distant screams can be heard from those still reliving their operations. Some brave soul visit the house to try and catch their sounds. Next up at number 3 now, we have the Satanist Cult. The King's Park in Perth draws in many visitors during the day, but at night it plays host to all kinds of spooky legends. One of this is the Satanic Cult. It's said that on certain nights a secret group of devil worshippers descend upon the park where they perform strange rituals. Occult symbols are drawn, effigies are burnt, and all kinds of demonic behavior takes place upon the grassy slopes there. Some even say that human sacrifices happen there. This legend has only been fueled by the reports of local homeless men going missing after they visit the park. People believe that sleeping in the park after dark is inviting yourself to be killed in the name of the demons that the cult worships. Next up at number 2 now, we have the Macquarie Field Station. In the southwest suburb of Sydney lies a train station with a grisly secret. When the last train leaves Macquarie Field Station and the platform is totally empty, a faint cry can be heard in the breeze. Believers say the station is haunted. For those that find the crying scary to hear, things only get worse. Some say the crying eventually stops, and then, after a short pause, it turns to blood-curdling screams of anguish. On some occasions, people even see the ghost itself, a teenage girl roaming the platform with dark blood covering her face. She cries and cries, then screams and screams. For me though, the creepiest part is that sometimes she stares right at you. And finally, number 1 now, we have the Min Min Lights. Those who have ventured to Eastern Australia's outback will often return with tales of the Min Min Lights. On some nights, burning lights are said to appear in the distance but never get closer. They keep pace alongside the car but never get any nearer, almost as if it was watching you. Some people believe that if you leave your car, the lights will stalk you through the Australian outback. But hey, don't take my word for it. Unlike many of the other ones we've talked about on our list, there has been documented cases of the Min Min Lights. You can find footage on YouTube filmed by locals. In 2003, a report suggested that the lights are just a trick of the light and appear under certain conditions. Others believe this only deepens the conspiracy. They say the government is trying to shake people off the trail and not discover the true nature of the Min Min Lights. Alright guys, I want to know which one of those was your favourite. I honestly think Australia might have some of the best urban legends I've heard of so far. Do we have any Aussies watching this video? Did I miss any good ones out? Remember to request your country next for our Urban Legends series. I hope you have a lovely day. My name is Danny Burke. Thanks for watching guys, and I will see you all in the next video.